Raghbir Sehgal. Please, everyone, say hello to my dad. There he is.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Now, everyone watching, if you're watching at home, if you're watching later, tell us where you're watching from. We both are located here in Atlanta.
Yes,
right?
yes.
I'm wearing your Hawaiian shirt. Thank you very much.
Right.
And the Riviera is behind us, as you can see.
Absolutely.
So, but we thought, not just bring my dad to you. We want to make this a whole family affair. So with that, we also want to bring to the broadcast the other half of The Offspring. There's the Kabir version. There's also the Kashi version, which is my sister. So let's bring her into the broadcast. So everyone say hello to my sister. Hello. Hi. So before I introduce you, Dad, because this is the feature is about you, I'll introduce my sister. My sister is an entrepreneur in Atlanta.
Right.
And she is also, everyone who's watching this probably knows I've been hosting these concert series. My sister has been hosting a commencement address series. And why don't you tell us a little bit first, Kashi, why did you want to start this series and how can people find out more?
Well, thank you for having me on your show, Kabir. The Supernova Commencement Series was started because graduates are without a commencement this year, thanks to Corona. So I thought it would be nice for graduates to get a little bit of inspiration and motivation, that commencement speech that you often forget. At least this way, you get to go back to it time and time again and go back to those nuggets that really spoke to you. So you can find them by searching me at Kashi Sehgal. You can also search Supernova Commencements everywhere, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. We're all
Great. Everyone tune into that if you can. My father was a recent, but you're a veteran of that show. You're also a veteran of the quarantine series. So we're just, every show we have, we're getting you booked on.
Thank you.
So again, want to wish you a very happy Father's Day, Dad. We obviously want to talk to you about your book, Close the Loop. Congratulations on being a bestseller in the Los Angeles Times, the San Francisco Chronicle. Congratulations. Tell me first, Dad, why did you want to write a book in the first place?
Kabir, first of all, and Kashi, thank you for wishing me the best Father's Day ever. So the question you asked me, why I want to write the book? I think it goes way back in India. I think in the book, I talk about that my mentor, the governor of the state, he promised my father that he will do everything for me to promote me to when I come back to India after graduating from United States, I will be in politics. Just before I was going to graduate from my technical college, I got the news that the governor of the state, he died. And then the next person who replaced him, he canceled my scholarship and everything. So I went to my father and mother. I said, I don't want to stop what this governor wants me to do. So please find some way to buy my fare to England, there where I'll make money and go to United States. So that's my start from the very beginning. If you find an obstacle, you try to overcome in one way or the other. You find many examples like this in my book, Close the Loop.
You mentioned your father. Tell us about your father.
My father was started out as a teacher of English in high school. Then he wanted to work for a civil servant. From civil servant, he was so hard worker that the person who was in charge of the civil service in hospitality and tourism, he asked him to become the director of hospitality and tourism, and he became the director of 3 states. So interesting part is when I left my private practice, I went to work in the government, and the Roy Barnes, the governor, appointed me as the commissioner of industry, trade, and tourism. This is part of my legacy. My father was director of tourism, and I wanted to become in the same footsteps of my father. That's what happened.
Beautiful. It's a great story, and it's sort of full circle. Close the loop is almost a metaphor for your life. Kashi, what questions do you have for this man you know so well?
Yeah, I definitely have many. I'll start with, Dad, you are a mentor to many, including myself and Kabir. I think I can speak for him. Could you talk about the role mentors have played in your life?
That you want to do in your life.
Got it. Thanks. We have some sound issues. I'm sorry, but tell me about tell us again about who are some people that you like to mentor. Who are people that reach out to you? Because I think people realize that mentorship's important, but where do you get started in finding a mentor?
You know, then you talk about mentorship. If you want me to name people, I can go on and on and on. It's not possible for me to name all those people. As a matter of fact, in my company, when I was working as a CEO of the company, a lot of people came to me with their problems, and I sat down, listened very, very patiently, and I sat and I spent a lot of time with them, telling them not what to do, but tell them what they want to do. I just navigated their desires. So that's what I did, the mentoring. As a matter of fact, I have gone to high schools and talked to people and start to mentor them. So that's my mentorship.
Beautiful. What are some memories, Kashi, you have of Dad growing up that sort of shaped you as a person?
There's one memory in particular of when we were, I was in his car and we were at Law Companies, the company that he was CEO of. And I was waiting in the car and he said, just a second. We were right outside the lobby. He said, just a second. So he got out of the car. He walked over to a law pickup truck that was parked just a little ways away. And I saw him reach into his pocket and pull out his wallet. And he handed the guy something I couldn't see from there and came back. And I said, what just happened? He said, well, I just gave the guy a reward for being at work early. And it's something he didn't have to do. It was such a kind gesture, a way to surprise, delight, reward, and set a great example for everybody else all at the same time. Not many people would have thought of doing something like that, but that's just an example of how he thinks so differently and so much more differently than a lot of other people I know.
There's a man who came from out of the country and about 15 years ago to Atlanta. He established himself. His name is Ross Rawson. He is the only one in the country who has two portraits in the National Smithsonian Gallery in in Washington, D.C. He became a good friend, and he painted my portrait, which you see on the top of the book. And as a matter of fact, you see the picture, he and I standing there at his home with my portrait in the middle.
Yeah, well said. We have a question coming in from Columbus, Georgia. Columbus, Georgia wants to know, what are some lessons that your father taught you?
My father, when I was in England, I wanted to stay there because I was making money. I was working in the factory. I had a real estate, making all kind of rents. So when my father heard that I am not doing the thing which I'm supposed to do, collect money, save money, and go to United States for education, so he wrote me a letter, very strong letter, 9-page letter, saying that you promised that you will go to United States. In that letter, he gave me 3 suggestions. Number 1, be honest when you work. Number 2, one second.
Be honest while you work, and you're drinking a cup, because I hope you told the story about the cups later.
Yeah. So be honest when you work and be hardworking. So that was kind of generic. Then he said, make sure that you make your supervisor and your boss look good. So that's I did not understand till I became the boss, CEO of the very large company. So then I understood the value of his third advice to me: make your supervisor look good.
Jane Bonnet, the incredible saxophonist, the band leader, is watching. She says, I love the book. My husband read it and was very inspired. The closed loop concept is so important in our business of music. I'm halfway through and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Patience, persistence, and respect for everyone. So everyone say hi, Jane.
Hi, Jane.
Hi, Jane. So Kashi, this idea of close the loop, how do you interpret it? As Dad's daughter, how do you interpret, what does closed loop mean to you, and how have you applied that to your life?
I think it's one of the most important things you can do, finishing, right? Not many people have ideas, but it's getting across that finish line and then letting all of those that are involved in the process know that you completed. So, if somebody opened a door for you, like for an interview, if somebody helped you get that interview and you had the interview, then let them know that the interview took place and it went well, or, you followed up, and then follow up even in a few weeks once you find out if you got the job or not, So it's not just closing the loop one time, it's constant communication.
Let me add one more thing on the close the loop. And I found out in my life, when you ask somebody to do something, the task is not complete till you find out, yes, they have come back to you, the task is complete. Until that time, just like when you execute a project and you send the bill, unless and until you collect the invoice, the project is not complete. So to me, that's my way of saying not only in money, but any task you ask anybody, any work you ask anybody to complete, make sure they come back to you and say, yes, that task has been completed. So that's my way of saying close the loop.
Beautiful. Kashi, over to you.
Kabir, I have a question for you.
Okay.
You write a lot of books.
Yes.
This is one that you wrote with somebody else. What did you learn writing this book with Dad about him and about writing with somebody else?
This is the first. Very few people ask me questions on my show. So the microphone
it's the sister privilege.
turning it around. I think writing the book was a fun, sometimes arduous process, because a lot of it was done in person, a lot of over the telephone, where I was just asking questions. And when you write a biography of someone, you kind of have to sort of get out of the way and let the person tell the story and let the facts come out as they are. So you're just sort of, I thought of myself more as a scribe or as a filter, and I try to take myself out of the story as much as I could. Obviously, there's parts in the book where I inject myself in my analysis. I also think that writing this book was, sort of a personal journey. Because remember, we would grow up, Kashi and I, hearing stories about the Maharaja of Kapurthala, and just growing up, it was like an alphabet soup of things we didn't really understand. It was just like names from this Patiala, Maharaja, and Punjab. So we kind of had a general sense of my dad's story or our dad's story, but I didn't know where everything sort of lined up and where it sat in the history of India and the history of Punjab. So writing this book actually helped me, as it would, understand my father and the chronology of everything, how one thing led to the other. And I have to say, in writing and understanding your story, it obviously makes more sense. I almost wish I'd done this earlier in life to understand where your journey, but I have a greater appreciation for what he has accomplished, and knowing about, India was at the birth of a nation. India was just beginning, and Dad got the heck out of there, and he came to America. And I wanted to ask you about that, Dad. I know you talked a little bit about Colonel Raghbir Singh and your mentor. Why was it so important for you to come to America?
Before I go any further, I want to say, a lot of the teachers say that when you teach a class, you learn a lot of things from your students. When the teacher prepares for the lecture, they work extra hard to lecture, and then they learn from the students. Same thing when you make a speech, you learn the energy from the audience. So the same way, when I was working with Kabir, working on my book, I learned a great deal about Kabir. Kabir is such a wonderful questionnaire. He will ask me questions that I really have to stop and think, what are these answers? So Kabir taught me a lot in the process of writing this book. Now, the other question you asked, why I left India, I just left India from the beginning. I said that when my mentor, Raghbir Singh, was dead,
and that was the mentor. He was the colonel. He was the chief minister in Punjab. He was the man who was responsible, essentially like a governor with many powers. And his name, Raghbir Singh. My dad has the same namesake, Raghbir Sehgal, as Raghbir Singh. So as you can imagine, they almost felt like kindred spirits. So why was America so important to you? And this here is a picture of my dad leaving on the KLM flight for the United Kingdom.
America was not that important to me. As a matter of fact, when the governor, the Colonel Raghbir Singh, he was chief minister, he said to my father, who was a middle-level person in the government, he called him, he said he would like for his son, me, to go to United States, and I'll give you the scholarship. He will get a degree from there. Then he comes back, and he'll be the youngest minister in my cabinet. So he's the one who introduced me to United States. So when he died, I have to navigate my journey through England. My parents did not have the money to finance my education, so I have to go to England, work on many jobs. Like one of them you see in the book, that I work in a Goodyear factory doing cleaning and all those kind of things. I saved enough money, and I mentioned that to you before. And after saving money from the job and then renting rooms, I bought a house there. Then for that reason, I came to United States. So this was not my idea. It was originated by the governor. I just want to make sure when he died, I was still alive. I want to make sure that dream that he put in my head, it comes true.
Tell us about this photo. And I got to say, there's a lot of photos in my dad's room. This probably is the one that's one of the most revered. And growing up, it was always a sort of a fun story to show. If you want to get a good sense of my dad's American dream story, this is a good photo to understand. And I think understanding the lesson here will show us kind of why he was so successful as he was. Tell us about this photo in particular, Dad.
Kabir, thank you for asking that question. As a matter of fact, when I started working in this factory, Goodyear factory, they used to make tire. There are almost 3,000 people working in that factory. And then when I found out that the next department...
This is the Goodyear factory, by the way, in the UK. Where's the city?
Wolverhampton, near Birmingham, Alabama. When I found out that the next department having a party in their department. I asked them what happened. So they said they have won a what do you call it, good housekeeping award. So that means that they keep their department clean and compete with other departments. If you win, they give you 1 hour extra pay and there's a party. So ask my people. There are about 29 people in my department. I asked them, have we ever won the Good Housekeeping Award? They said, no, mate, we have never won it. So I asked them, if I work hard, come 1 hour early, 1 hour late, and talk to people.
Talk to everyone, and he was also working hard on motivating people, all across his department. So keep going.
So I said, if I come 1 hour early, 1 hour late cleaning, would you cooperate with me? So I bought about 28 waste baskets where they put all their scraps on the tires in that. So in about, or you can say 45 days, we competed in the housekeeping award, and we won the housekeeping award for the first time, and everybody got 1 hour extra salary, and we had a party. That was the only time they won the award. After I left, they went back to their old ways.
Old habits die hard. Exactly. Let me kick it over to you, Kashi, and ask you, is there any story from the book, from Dad's life, that stands out to you, other than the one you mentioned outside the parking area? As you reflect back, we've been sort of in this mode now of sharing with Dad's book. Is there any story that you revisited that speaks to you, maybe more recently?
There's so many. There's one story that has always amazed me, just because of the crazy situation that you found yourself in. And this was when Dad was in, was it Iran? Or you'll remind me. But he was hired, him and his company were hired to basically reroute the river around the king's palace. And so it was a pretty incredible situation to be in. One, to get that request. Two, to know, have the wherewithal to not laugh in his face. And they got the project. But it just amazes me the endless amount of stories and situations that he's been in, and faced it all with grace and quick thinking on his feet.
Exactly. One of the pictures I wanted to show here was, and you're right, Kashi, about his penchant for internationalism, and that was a big part of his early and mid-career success at law engineering. I do want to bring it back, considering what we're going through as a country right now with the Black Lives Matter protests and sort of the gaping wounds of systemic racism that we're facing and we're hearing about. My father showed up in Alabama in the 60s in the segregated South. And here you see a picture of him as an engineer early in his career. And tell us about the discrimination you faced as an Indian in the segregated South of Alabama.
I'd give you a story which is interesting story. In India, if you remember, only one of the few countries in the world after British Raj, we play cricket. So when I came to Auburn, Alabama, nobody has ever heard the game of cricket. So I found out Tuskegee Institutes, which is only 20 miles from Auburn, they have a team over there, they play cricket. So I went there, asked them, can I play cricket with you? They said yes. So I started playing cricket with them and I enjoyed it. When they found out that I go to an all-white school, Auburn, Alabama, they asked me not to come back. So that was a very interesting reverse discrimination. So that's the first thing I saw. And as a matter of fact, in my university, we were the only 9 foreign students ever to enter in the school of Auburn University.
Good story. Now tell me about the discrimination you faced at law, at your job, and the promotion.
So when I would start working for law engineering in Birmingham, Alabama, so when there were 4 or 5 departments, and my department was producing almost 40% of the money and the profits. So when the time came, my boss to be promoted to divisional managers, so the president of the company came. He said he would like to promote a man who is from South. He's from Birmingham. He made him the branch manager, and I was denied. So I have 2 choices: either to mourn and protest, or I should go on and show them that my performance is better than the person they promoted. So I took that path and started working hard. My department grew by leaps and bounds, profit grew, and everything else. So after 9 months, the president invited me and the branch manager in Atlanta, Georgia. I remember Holiday Inn Central, standing under the stairway. He told that man that you're no longer the branch manager. RK is taking over as president. So I took my protest in my work way, and I work harder to show to them that they made a mistake. I'm the right person. That's how it happened.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things that I've noticed about my father, you see here in some of these pictures, he was able to turn his otherness into an advantage. So being an Indian in the South, you're seen as a foreigner, you're seen as someone who may not belong. But pretty soon, the world markets change, and you found yourself in the late 1970s, I believe, and there was a recession, and the company you're working at law found that there was a growth opportunity to work internationally. And here was this Indian man, the only man probably with an international background in the executive ranks of law, and all of a sudden your otherness became your advantage. So tell me, my sister and I all have always thought about you as an international person with a global outlook. Why was it important to grow internationally at law engineering, and how did that play to your natural advantages?
Kabir, if you allow me to go back to the previous question, I would like to say, so what I just mentioned that to you about becoming the branch manager of Birmingham, Alabama, what I did, instead of protest, I work hard. So same thing happened when I became chairman, CEO of this law engineering company. We were sitting in the board meeting, and there were discussion going on with the staff also, and they were saying that we should be careful with immigrants and be careful about the minorities. And I stopped and looked at them, and I said, guys, look at me. I'm also an immigrant. I'm also a part of the minority. They looked at me and said, RK, you are no longer, you are one of us. So I think it was the power of conversion with work. So I just want to let you know. Okay, going back to the question you said, the work in the world was growing by leaps and bounds. Saudi Arabia was growing, Iran was growing, and other Middle East was growing. So my president said to me, he said, I think I'd like for you to start the international division. So I went to Saudi Arabia, and then the stories are so many, it will take for hours for me to say that. Started the company over there, and we became, when I went over there, the same thing. People, those who were there, engineering company, they say, RK, you are late. So I say, God, that does not bother me. So worked so hard that we became the #1 engineering company in foundation and environmental. We start working there. From there, we start working in Iran. Then we got one of the largest projects in Libya. So I think the story is that we were making something like 25% of our sales coming from international and 40% of the profit. So international became quite good. And then my working with the international showed people that I can manage new companies. That's where I became the chairman first, then the chairman, CEO, and the president of law engineering.
See? It's a successful story right there. As Daisy saying, preach, Papa Sehgal. Hi, Daisy. Everyone say hi, Daisy.
Hi, Daisy.
So, Kashi, what questions do you have? What's another question you have?
Well, so at the end of the book, you talk about 5 tips for success. What is the best advice you were ever given for your success?
The best advice I have ever given, Kabir can talk more about that because he got the juice of my book. So in that advice, my best advice that I ever gave, that when you start working, don't work just for the results. Just make sure that you do your best. Result is not in your hand. So I think you work hard. And like I said in the beginning, my father wrote that make sure that you work honestly, you work hard, and then you make your boss look good. So that's the advice which people got very surprised when I said make your boss look good, because that's absolutely the mantra or trying to be successful. When you become boss, you will appreciate that more.
One of the lessons we learned from my dad is to remain humble. You see, my dad's journey started with very little and has achieved essentially the American dream. This is a picture of everyone remaining humble. Maybe Kashi, you can tell us about your memories of what's going on in this picture.
Sure. We were on a family trip with Ambassador Andrew Young and his wife Jean, and Herman Russell with his wife Otia, and the four of us. And we were in the middle of Zimbabwe here in Wangi National Park, and we all of a sudden had a flat tire, which would have been, it's still concerning out in the middle of the wilderness, but was more concerning because there was a car that came from the other direction and said that there were about 1,000 buffalo just around the bend in the road. So in this picture, you can see our tour guide, who is right at the back of the truck, Dad in the hat, Ambassador Young on the ground, and Herman Russell is trying to get that tire off the truck. And it was just a hilarious situation. Now, at that point, we were all a little bit nervous. I think you and I were too young to realize how crazy that situation really was, but it was a very fun trip.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for sharing those thoughts. In promoting this, I obviously posted some pictures, and a lot of people asked me about what's the story with your dad taming the tiger. And I said, you'll have to stay tuned. You'll have to stay tuned for the broadcast. So, I promised everyone that that they could check it out. So why don't you tell us about the tiger story?
Again, it comes back to the mentorship. My mentor in these kind of things was John Imlay. John Imlay was an entrepreneur in the industry, and as a matter of fact, he was a part owner of Atlanta Falcons.
The Falcons have been out of the playoffs for a few years. We want to get them back, by the way.
So he was a part owner. So I saw some of the meetings he started in his life. He came with tigers and those kind of things to get the attention. So I asked John Imlay, why do you do that? He says, sometimes people forget the message. You have to bring some props to make sure they understand the message. So what happened, that the reason I brought tigers, at that time we have 5 companies, major companies under the umbrella of law engineering group. And then what happened, that some of these presidents were fighting with each other. They were not cooperating. So I thought it'd be a good idea to work with a tiger. So we invited the tiger from Tennessee. So I worked with the tiger for 1 week. And the first time when I saw the tiger, the owner of the tiger said, put your hand in the tiger's cage so I can get to know you. So I want to make sure I'm a right-hander. I put my left hand. So if he bites my hand, so at least my left hand is gone, not the right hand. Then he told me, do not use any shaving, the only one, so the tiger can use to it. So make the story short. So when the tiger came out, you saw, not many people know, only 5 people know that I'm coming with a tiger. So then when must have been about 1,000 people came from all over the world, the managers. So I started inviting them to to the place where Tiger and I was standing there. So some of these people, British people, Sir Geoffrey Coates and all that, say we did not sign up for this, so they came. So I told them that it took me 1 week to start depending on the Tiger, and Tiger start depending on me. So if he can just tame a tiger in 1 week, if we are dependent on each other, you can do the same thing in the company. The company have a common cause. I think you can just do the same thing. And what do you call it? We made the substance so that people could understand that I bring these things. As a matter of fact, when I brought going further on an elephant, we honor the person with us who was our biggest customer. We want to honor our customer, so we have him on the elephant also. So these things help give the right message in the right way.
So it's a full circus, essentially. You have the tigers.
And then what happened, that you have to be careful. Then when we brought another customer, we were in downtown Atlanta. We were in a hot air balloon. So when we got in, Kashi, Kabir, and everybody was there. So when we got in the hot air balloon with my biggest customer, so what happened? The rope broke and everybody panicked, and everybody is trying to run to stop the hot air balloon. Finally, we were able to catch it. We were able to come down, and my client said to me, he will never forget this ride for the rest of his life. And thank God we are alive. So you have to be careful also.
Well said. Kashi, any final, before we sort of start signing off, I wanted to say to everyone, please do check out the book if you can. It's if you don't know by now, it's called Close the Loop. Close the Loop. And it's available at all booksellers, book retailers, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, everywhere. So there it is right there. There's a portrait. Let me see if I can kill the banner here so you get the full sense. Forward by President Carter, afterward by Andrew Young. Close the Loop, The Life of an American Dream CEO and His 5 Lessons for Success. And it was been a joy working with you and writing this book and researching this book. The book is published by Hachette, came out just about a month ago. So please check it out and send us your thoughts. You can message me on Facebook or Instagram, add a review. Yes, you want to say something?
I want to just say that after you write, if you like the book, be sure send your remarks to Amazon.
Oh yeah, add the review if you like. So there's the book. We certainly hope you like it. Labor of Love. We thought for Father's Day we should really bring my dad's story to life through this interview.
I wish all of you happy Father's Day. Please make sure that you respect them, love them, and adore them.
All right. So before we sign off, any final questions or thoughts, Kashi?
No, I think that's a great place to leave it. I just want to say to Dad, happy Father's Day, and
thank you
for everything you have taught us and all the experiences and life lessons we've picked up along the way. Thanks to you.
Thank you, Kashi. Thank you, Kabir.
Last question. You were talking about Father's Day. What does family mean to you?
Family, I think, is the foundation of anything. As a matter of fact, in India, we value family more than anything else. So I think the value of family is very strong. I think now, Kabir, I think you have learned. Each and Kashi you have. So please make sure that you keep the foundation strong of your family, even your next generation.
Daisy, we can't end without answering a question from Daisy. She's a dreamer, as you know, came to America.
Right.
She says, do you have any words of motivation for dreamers? Obviously, they're facing a tough political environment, right, where the administration wants to send these dreamers home. There's a big Supreme Court obviously found, at least in temporary favor for dreamers. What advice do you have for people that are struggling with staying in the country now? How can you keep them motivated?
Daisy, you don't need my advice. You guys have done what I could not have done. I think you have shown this whole country that in spite of all the obstacles, you have overcome. and then you see the rewards of your hard work, that the Supreme Court of United States sided with you. So bravo, what you have done is wonderful. Keep on doing, and I can assure you, you are going to be very successful, the determination that all of you have.
Well said. And that goes out to all the dreamers that are part of this community. We want to thank everyone for watching. Thank you, everyone. Again, this is our first, only, and last quarantine book series. I want to thank my co-anchor, my sister, Kashi. Like what you've done with the place over there.
Thanks. I got my own art.
Good, good. What's up there? People want to see. What is that?
There's a Matisse and then a local artist from Monterey.
Wow, very fancy.
There you go. Yeah.
Very fancy. All right. So everyone, thanks for tuning in. I got my Hawaiian shirt on. I'm going to go back to vacation. Wish everyone a happy summer. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers. And have a great, great day and week ahead.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for participating. Happy Father's Day.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye, everyone.